Good evening and welcome to Waterford County Matters. Here's what's coming up on this week's show.
First up, we meet Flash and Emer, the team behind the Boxworks initiative. Next, we meet the amazing ladies from the Waterford Dragon Warriors. In part 2, we attend the first anniversary of the Lafcadio O'Hearn Japanese Gardens. And finally, we meet Anne from the Granville Hotel, and she tells us all about Thomas Francis Marr.
Are you ready to get out of the basement and into a real-life office? Boxworks is a co-working space for smart-thinking entrepreneurs, creative startups and ambitious small businesses. We meet with the team behind it.
Boxworks is a co-working space just opened in the middle of Waterford City on Patrick Street. It's a 5,000 square foot space, and we're encouraging people to come in and to co-work together. I think the co-working revolution started about 11 years ago in San Francisco when 5 guys got together, rented a building and worked together on individual projects. But the idea of co-working has now sort of increased in 11 years to about 3,500 spaces worldwide. What's brilliant about the spaces is, you know, people who are creative can't just work Monday to Friday 9 to 5. They need to sort of wake up at 12 o'clock at night and go, I feel now I can do some creative work and I need to go to my office or whatever. We felt that the Waterford City Centre needed a vibrancy, and there was a lot of initiatives into, you know, people coming in to work in the city centre. It's happened all over the UK, all over Ireland, the donut effect for retail, whereby a lot of places moved outside the city and the city centres are dying. So this is one of the first large co-working spaces in a city centre in Waterford. And we're looking at, somebody comes to work here, he or she needs to park, buy coffee, have lunch, go to the supermarket before they go home. We reckon there's about 150, 200 euros a week per person working in a co-working space. And then of course these people will be inviting in customers, inviting in clients, meeting friends for lunch. So a place like this could generate up to 10,000 to 15,000 euros a week for the local economy as well.
So what's on offer here?
What's on offer here are desks where people can come and work just from a single desk. We've put in some cool phone boxes, a traditional Irish phone box and a TARDIS. So in talking to other co-working spaces, the big problem was if you get a phone call, there's no privacy. So these are soundproof, so you can pop into the phone box without changing into the Superman outfit and take your call, do your business without everyone else knowing. Then we've 10 private offices whereby up to 2 people can work in the office at a time. So you can go into a private office, close the door, do your work, but at the same time be in a co-working space with other people. And then we've 2 boardrooms on offer that all the tenants in the space can use, but we also offer it on a day-to-day basis for people to come in and use our boardroom facilities, use our chill-out facilities. And we're also going to engage with the local retail community through Waterford Business Group and probably Chamber of Commerce, and to try and get retailers up to speed on, you know, a Twitter for Business class, how to use Facebook professionally. We're engaging with a couple of local companies, startups, one called Tucker, which is a digital layaway business for business. Like back in the day where you used to go into a shop and buy a shirt and a trousers and a jumper and all that, and I give you a tenner a week. This is a digital version of that, and this concept came from a local entrepreneur. Another one called Collect. Robbie Scouse set up this app whereby instead of paying money for getting your rubbish taken away and retainers and all this kind of thing, when you feel you need your rubbish taken away, you go on the app, you pay for it, and your rubbish is collected the following day. So we're going to engage with all these people, introduce them to the local retail community, and hopefully spread the good word that Waterford is open for business.
Tell us a little bit about your own background.
Basically, I'm a chef by trade, a bar owner by accident, I used to drink in a local bar, had a couple of bad days at work, and he talked me into leasing his bar from him. And this is the next part of my life, I suppose, with a co-working space to engage with local business community and to have a little bit of a buzz and a crack around business.
And you organise a few social events here as well.
Yeah, we've teamed up with Robbie Scouse, and in Revolution upstairs we've done Frontiers Friday on the first Friday of every month. And it's a collaborative idea to bring anyone in the tech business and the startup businesses together, just to be a little bit sociable, to get them their creative juices flowing, talking to one another, having a few beers, and like you'd be amazed how much problem solving is done over a couple of beers on a Friday evening. We had one of the guys who had a problem with his e-commerce on his website, and he was just going, this is wrecking my head, I've worked on it for 3 days, I can't solve the problem. And another couple of guys for now, we'll help you with that. Within half an hour, everything was done, the website was working, everything was sorted. And that's the kind of creativity we want to come up in a social space.
And you've got to tell me, who's your interior designer?
Our interior designer is Emer Powell. Myself and Emer have worked on the interior here, fighting tooth and nail to try and get a cool industrial creative space. A lot of spaces we looked at were sort of plasterboard, you know, regular offices. So we wanted something that was cool and creative. So we've took the funky furniture from the Google ideas. We took the industrial look from San Francisco and New York with the loft apartments and just mashed the whole lot together. But Emer is the creative force behind it.
So the future looks bright then for Boxworks in Waterford?
Yeah, Boxworks is looking good. We've plenty of inquiries from Dublin, from Galway. The cost of living in Waterford is a fraction of Dublin, whereby you'll pull an apartment down here for 600 quid a month. You'll get a desk space for a very reasonable price compared with Dublin. And you're always 5 minutes from work, 5 minutes from a pub or a restaurant, and there's a great social feel to Waterford City.
What a great initiative, and the future certainly looks bright for Boxworks, and we wish them the very best of luck in the future. Waterford Dragon Warriors was founded in 2013 to encourage breast cancer survivors, both male and female, to become fit, improve their upper body strength and mobility, and have fun in the process. We meet with the Waterford crew and they tell us their stories.
Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Angela, talk to us about the Waterford Dragon Warriors.
Well, the Waterford Dragon Warriors began in October of 2013. The Solace Centre here in Waterford and a lady called Marcella and Mr. Tino Castanera decided that it would be great benefit, very, very beneficial for anyone who has had breast cancer surgery. Research has shown the benefits of it, and so they advertised for people to come and join, and at the start we didn't have our own boat. We would travel to Clonmel, and the first time I tried it out I was addicted. So our official launch was in January 2014, and then we got our boat in March 2014, and ever since then the group has grown by leaps and bounds. At the beginning it was only for breast cancer survivors, but we were having so much fun and we were saying, why keep this just to ourselves? We opened the club to everyone over the ages of 18.
Adrian, you yourself are a lymphedema survivor. Talk to me about the medical study that started all this.
Back in, I think it was 1996, there was a Dr. Don McKenzie in Vancouver challenged. We were always told in the medical profession when somebody had their lymph nodes removed that they weren't to carry shopping bags. We were basically not to use the arm, that we were to be very careful with it, not to get a sunburnt, all this sort of thing. But this man had other ideas, and he challenged a group to see people with lymphedema, people who didn't have but had the potential to have it, to see how upper body movements would help. And Dragon Boat in particular is what they tried. So they did this trial, and anybody who had any form of it didn't get any worse. In fact, there was improvements, and anybody who had potential that may have developed it, even through the couple of weeks of paddling, there was nothing. So this was huge, and it was taken on board in different countries. It only actually came to Ireland, as far as I know, in 2010, and it was actually Dr. Tina Castanero who had started in Clonmel, I think maybe 2012. We got wind of it in 2013, and our founder member Marcella, who unfortunately has not, didn't survive her battle, she had the vision. She wanted this to go ahead, and herself and Tino got to set us up and running. And thank God, as I said, I was diagnosed in later years. I was diagnosed in 2003, but they told me lymphedema could present at any stage, and it was actually 5 years later when my symptoms started. And I had been to all sorts of specialists and physio and all sorts of things, but it took, the Dragon Boat was the first thing that I did that I felt improvement myself, and that's why.
That it actually helped you?
That it helped me, yeah, absolutely. And I very much need to feel something in my own body before I'm, will be able to say it to somebody else, and I was thrilled with the improvement.
Bonnie, talk to me yourself about why you joined up.
Wow, it was the best thing that I ever decided to be a member of the club.
What a great experience that was, and well done to all those amazing ladies. Well, that's all we have time for in part one. Remember, if you have a story, contact us via Facebook, Twitter, or at Waterford at irishtv.ie. See you after the break. Now we're at the Lafcadio O'Hearn Japanese Gardens in Tramore to celebrate their first anniversary. Agnes, talk to me about the Lafcadio O'Hearn Gardens here in Tramore.
Sure. The gardens started the idea was born in 2012 after a visit to Tramore by the great-grandson of Lafcadio O'Hearn, and we came up with the idea to have a garden that told the story of the life of Hearn, which was a very interesting life. He travelled the world as he developed his career as a writer. So the garden starts with a Victorian garden to show his childhood in Ireland and his time in Tramore, and then there's an American garden with plants from Ohio, where he first went in America, and then it goes through, there's a flashback to Greece because he was born in Greece, so we have a little Greek amphitheatre. Then he went to Japan, and he became the most famous Westerner in Japan, most famous Irishman certainly, and probably the most famous Western writer in Japan. His work is still taught in schools in Japan today, and all Japanese people know him. And not many Irish people have heard of him, but many are learning now through this garden. Our hopes for the garden is that it will be a bridge, a cultural bridge between Ireland and Japan, and also that it will bring many, many visitors to Tramore and to Ireland. And in fact, many years ago I worked in the Department of Tourism, and our ambassador in Japan told me about Hearn and how important he was there, and said if Ireland only commemorated him, people would come to visit and Japanese people would come. So they're beginning to come now.
And today we're marking the first anniversary of the opening of the gardens.
Yes, we formally opened it, as you say, a year ago with the previous Japanese ambassador and the new ambassadors here today. So it's our first birthday. The garden has done remarkably well in the year. It's really grown, and in 4 or 5 more years it will be a fantastic place. It's a very peaceful place, and all our visitors say that and find it.
And Agnes, talk to me about the school's involvement here.
Yeah, we've had a lot of connections with schools, particularly Glornamara School, and the children there are interested in learning about Japan, and they've done little exhibitions on Japan, and they have a wonderful teacher there, Kate Marie Hearn, actually, not a relation I think to Lafcadio O'Hearn, but she got an award as Irish Teacher of the Year just last week. She's very good with her children. But the schools are connected to us, and many other organisations connected here. And our visitors are coming from all over the world. We've had visitors from the 5 continents already this year. mostly, I suppose, European, a lot of British, but many Americans too, and Japanese, and we've had Koreans and Australians and South Africans.
Paul, talk to me then about the importance of the Japanese gardens here in Tramore.
Well, I think they're very important in terms of commemorating Lafcadio Hearn, who is probably, certainly the best known Irishman in Japan, and probably the principal character in our cultural relations with Japan. And up to the time, I suppose, I wrote my book, his Irish background tended to be very much overlooked. And it's absolutely critical to his later life. As you know, he spent his formative years in Dublin, but coming down here on holidays to Tramore, and you know, he wrote his memories, for example, of meeting his father for the last time on the beach in Tramore when he's 7 years old, and so on. So I think it's wonderful that Hearn, who was rather neglected in Ireland since his death in the early 20th century, is now being recognised here. And I must say, I think if he were to come back, he'd be absolutely astonished and delighted that he's now being remembered, and the garden is just fantastic.
Ireland's Gum Litter Task Force, in association with Irish TV and Select Hotels of Ireland, is offering 5 prizes of 2 nights bed and breakfast plus 1 evening meal from Select Hotels of Ireland. To be in with a chance to win, simply email a picture of your tidy town village with your contact details to competitions@irishtv.ie, or you can enter on Twitter and Facebook using the hashtag IrishTVGLT. Winners will be notified by July 31st. Terms and conditions apply. See www.irishtv.ie for details.
We are here on the quays in Waterford City, and one building which has stood the test of time is the beautiful Granville Hotel. The Granville Hotel is steeped in history and has a special place in the hearts of Waterford people, and in one lady in particular. That's Anne Cusack. Let's go meet her. Lovely to see you. How are you?
It's great altogether.
You're going to take me on a little tour?
Yeah, and I'm just going to show you this picture of Thomas Francis Marr, which was painted while he was in jail in 1848. And it's just fascinating to think that you could have artists going in and taking pictures of you or painting or whatever. But he's very handsome, isn't he?
He is, very dashing indeed, and I believe we're going to go upstairs and have a little tour.
Yes, indeed, yes, yeah. I'll just bring you down to show you a picture of Thomas Francis Marr on the return from the First Battle of Bull Run, where Michael Corcoran was captured, and Thomas Francis Marr led the troops back to Pier 13 in New York. There's some books over here we might look at. There's an interesting one here. See this fella?
This one?
Yeah. This is very special now. This is Thomas Francis Marr when he lived on the Mall, when he was in jail, and on his way on the Swift going to Tasmania.
This is his own handwriting?
It is, yeah. It's the same as on the picture outside in the foyer.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's quite an unusual, slanty kind of writing,
that it survived so long as well.
You know, yeah, it's incredible, really. And the dates are on it, you know, 1849 and then 1848 when he was in Kilmainham.
Incredible, all right.
Yeah. So
must mean a lot for you to have it.
Oh, yeah, it's super, really. To know that he held it even is something else. Do you know, it's extraordinary. And there he is.
There he is, the man himself.
Yeah, yeah, so it is fabulous. It's great.
And the Cusack family took over the hotel in 1979, but can you take me back to the history of the Granville Hotel before that?
Okay, well, the hotel was originally built around the 1700s, and then it went through various kind of changes over all the years and different owners as well. It was originally built by a banker, the Newports, and they sold it to a family called the Quans. And the daughter of that house was actually the mother of Thomas Francis Marr, and she married Thomas Francis Marr's father. And when the banking family, and there was a financial crisis in Waterford, and all the businesses really went sort of belly up, and Thomas Francis Marr's father was able to buy the Granville, what was their home at the time, and they lived there then. And then Hearn and Company, which was a big department store here in Waterford, adjoining, it went from the quayside to George's Street behind. They bought it then, and then they sold it. It actually went into liquidation, and that's when we bought it then in '79. And it was really, at that stage, upstairs was really like a tenement, but the downstairs was running very well and had a very good name always. And it was a great meeting place for people from, especially coming in from the country, because a lot of people in the cities years ago wouldn't be going into hotels, you know, the local people really. So it was always a great meeting place for people.
And behind me here is a man that you know so well, Thomas Francis Marr. Can you tell me about him?
Okay, so his mother was Alicia Kwan, who had been one of the owners, and when she married Thomas Francis Marr's father, they had come, his father had come back from Newfoundland, where they'd emigrated, and they were very well off apparently. And so his father, Thomas, married Alicia Kwan, and they lived in the hotel, they lived in the house here, and he was born here, and they lived here until he was 4. And then his mother died on the birth of another baby, and they moved down to the Mall. So that was the connection with the Marrs. And then he sold it on to Coney, Charles Coney, who started the first stagecoach public transport system in Ireland, which was the stagecoach system at the time.
Talk to me a little bit about Thomas Francis Marr and who he was.
Okay, well, Thomas Francis Marr was born here in the hotel, and he went to school with Edmund Ignatius Rice and went to Clongowes and went to Stonyhurst in England. So he was very well educated. And then he joined the Young Irelanders, and there was a revolution in 1848 where they were just trying to get freedom for Ireland, because the Irish people were being very oppressed under British rule. And he was arrested, and there were 7 of them actually arrested, and they were all supposed to be hung, drawn and quartered. But Queen Victoria commuted the sentence to transportation to Tasmania.
And when was the tricolour flag actually founded, Anne?
The tricolour, in 1848, there was various revolutions in different parts of Europe at the time, and France had just had one. So Thomas Francis Marr and some of the other leaders, William Smith O'Brien and another, I think, went to Paris, and they loved the French flag. And so Thomas Francis Marr modelled a new Irish flag on the French one, with green for the south of Ireland, orange for the north of Ireland, and white for peace between the two nations. So he was always really looking for peace. In the Civil War, it was kind of freedom for all the people in America, you know, including the black people and the slaves.
And tell us then about the Irish tricolour flag and where it was first flown.
Well, the tricolour was actually first flown in Waterford in 1848 on the 7th of March, down at 33 the Mall in Waterford, which was the Wolfe Tone Club, of which Thomas Francis Marr was a member.
And thanks so much for having us here today and for giving us such a great history on the Granville Hotel.
Well, thank you for having us. Indeed, we're absolutely thrilled. And Thomas Francis Marr himself will be more than thrilled, because he will know that more people will know about the Irish flag, the tricolour, and the true meaning of it.
That's it for this week. We really hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week at the same time, and remember, Waterford County matters.